What's going on, YouTube? Mr. Wheels here, once again bringing you another episode of Sports Talk. I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. It was a great game. If you haven't heard already, the Seattle Seahawks are the 2014 Super Bowl champions, winning Super Bowl 48, 43-8. Completely dominated the Denver Broncos, who were favored coming into the game. Peyton Manning was going to cement his legacy, whatever that means, winning a second championship. And I'm pretty sure that the Denver offense was expected to be explosive as they were all season, and Peyton Manning was probably expected to break some Super Bowl records, but it just didn't happen. Let's get to the breakdown of the game. Seattle won the coin toss, but surprisingly they chose to kick the ball and give Denver the first possession. And right from the first snap, which was botched, Denver just couldn't get it going. The first snap was botched and sailed over Peyton Manning's head into the end zone. What didn't help the Broncos was off the kickoff, they really only brought it back to about their own 10 or 12 yard line. So that wasn't very good field position, and it led to a safety. Peyton Manning didn't have a horrible game, but he was 34 of 49 with 2 interceptions, and they were passes that probably shouldn't have been thrown for interceptions. The second one, he was hurried and there was a lot of contact on the play. The first one was just a really bad throw, and I think he just threw it too quickly and he was picked off. But he had 280 yards and only 1 TD, and I don't know about you guys, but when you throw for almost 300 yards, I expect a guy like Peyton Manning to have more than 1 TD when you throw for that many yards. But the difference was the Legion of Boom, better known as Seattle's defense. They just destroyed Denver's receivers for most of the game, with the exception of one scoring drive that Denver had, the only scoring drive that Denver had. Very late in the third quarter. Otherwise, anytime guys like Demaryius Thomas or Wes Welker or anybody else caught the ball, they were pounded as soon as they caught the ball. On the ground, Denver didn't help themselves. No Sean Marino, 5 carries, only 17 yards. That's not very good. You expect a guy like him to have a little bit better performance, but again, Seattle's defense was the big difference in this game. Monte Ball had only 2 carries and for only 9 yards. And I don't know whether you've seen my Super Bowl pre-show video, but I said that no Sean Marino and Monte Ball would combined have to be a big factor for Denver, and they weren't. Demaryius Thomas was really the only bright spot in this game, other than Peyton Manning, who pretty much did his job. Demaryius Thomas did help out a little bit with 13 receptions for 118 yards and one TD. He averaged 9.1 yards per reception, with his longest reception being for 23 yards. Wes Welker also chipped in a little bit with 8 receptions for 84 yards. No TDs, but he averaged 10.5 yards per reception, and he had a 22-yard reception was his longest. And Eric Decker, who really is only, in my opinion, he's a supporting receiver. He's not a first or second option. He was basically a non-factor. And I will put my Super Bowl preview video in the description box below, and you can check that out. I said in that video earlier tonight that Denver was going to have to have air supremacy and dominate the passing game, and it just didn't happen. The Broncos were smashed all night by the Legion of Boom. Fitting name for Seattle's defense, by the way. They just absolutely destroyed the the Denver Broncos in pretty much every aspect of this game. And if, you can talk about the weather, you can talk about how noisy it was. It was, from what I could gather, it was a pro-Seattle crowd at MetLife Stadium, but I mean, both teams had to play in that stadium, so I'm not going to say that the weather or the crowd were really a contributing factor. It was Seattle's defense that really slowed Denver down, to their credit. Now let's get to Seattle. The breakdown of what they did. They were complete underdogs, in my opinion, coming into this game. I didn't doubt that they could get the job done. In fact, they were my pick to win. Again, check out my other video to see exactly what I said about them. But they surprised, I think, a lot of people and just dominated on defense. I don't think many people thought that Denver's offense, being so explosive, would really be dominating the way that they were against, when facing the Seattle defense. We knew that Seattle's defense was good. We just didn't expect them to dominate the way that they did. They won this game with, obviously, their defense. Their special teams played a huge role, and I'll get to that in a minute. Percy Harvin was the catalyst for their special teams. And surprisingly, Seattle's passing game was just on fire. They used not only guys like Percy Harvin and Doug Baldwin, but Jermaine Kearse was also a huge factor in the game, and I consider him a depth receiver. And Russell Wilson just had it going. Wilson was 18 for 28, 206 yards passing, and 2 TDs. Percy Harvin got involved with the rushing game, had only 2 carries, but he had 45 yards and a huge reverse play fairly early on in the game. Put Seattle in pretty good field position, which I believe led to a TD. And first possession of the second half, Percy Harvin had a huge kickoff return that ended up being a TD. Doug Baldwin contributed not too much. He had 5 receptions, 66 yards, and 1 TD. The big number there with him is that he averaged 13.2 yards per reception, and his longest reception was 37 yards. That's awesome. That just proves how good and possibly underrated Seattle's defense actually is. As I mentioned, Jermaine Kearse, he was a huge factor. Had 4 receptions, 65 yards, averaged 16.5 yards per reception, and his longest reception was for 24 yards, and he also had a TD. Marshawn Lynch was surprisingly not that big of a factor in this game, and going into the Super Bowl, I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that Seattle's strength was not only their defense, but their ground game, and they proved that earlier on in the playoffs. But Lynch had 15 carries, only 39 yards, which really isn't that great. His longest run was for 18 yards. And what else can you say? From there, obviously with all those stats, the Seattle offense did their job. The Legion of Boom, as I've already said, just completely dominated the Broncos offense, which I think allowed for Russell Wilson and the offense to just settle in and do their thing. There's not much else to say. Seattle are the 2014 Super Bowl champions, winning Super Bowl 48 convincingly, 43-8. Surprising win, but like Russell Wilson told his team, why not them? So that concludes my video. Please like up and subscribe to this video. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you even finished watching the game, because I'm sure a lot of people might have turned it off because it was such a romp. But that's it. I'll see you next time.